Good afternoon. Welcome to OptionsTender. It is Wednesday, May 14th, 2025. What if President Donald Trump is correct? What if stocks go much, much higher? Okay. I posted a meme in the Discord and it's hilarious off of X. One screen on the left, one computer screen shows technicals and the usual technical analysis, and then that was before, and now on the screen shows just Trump's face. So whatever he says goes. Okay, so if that's the case, and we've had such a bullish move, what if we get this blow off top that some people have been talking about? Ron Walker has been screaming about. I think this is a wave too, but we can't be naive. Okay, if by the way, I do think we have a top that is not and nothing's changed from yesterday. Sure, we got a couple pennies above. I think we have a top. I think we reverse, and from that reversal, we're going to have to see if that's a 3-wave move or a 5-wave move, if we can tell. And from that point, we have to consider becoming neutral and then going the direction that price tells us to. All right, so I want to give you that scenario to the bullish side. We're going to pay attention to that today. We're going to go through all the indicators as usual, but the verbiage is going to spin a little bit more bullish. Okay, I'm still in the bear camp. We're going to reverse. I think we go much lower, but who cares what I think? We'll look at this as a bull scenario because we will switch if we have to. Okay, and the first, I'll tell you this right away. Let me tell you this now. The first idea that I think we're bearish is because of the monthly, and you can look at the weekend video if you'd like, or the weekend video. I'll tag it. I'll put it up above at about 2:30. We had the bearish crossover on the monthly. Okay, but that doesn't mean we can't get a bearish divergence. So I have to keep that in mind. But what I went through today is Tesla. I went through Tesla with individual analysis members, and that's $4.99 a month. If you want to see that video, I think it's completely worth it to check those out. Tesla looks very similar to a situation where we can have a blow off top. All right, clearly NVIDIA is ramping up as well. So we'll have to watch those two. I'll do NVIDIA tomorrow. I'll do the individual analysis video tomorrow for members. So that's why, after looking at the higher time frames, Tesla specifically says that the market goes higher. Okay, I'll leave it at that for now. Let's do our regular analysis. So today we're looking at the breadth of the market. It's not good. All right, we're negative. We're holding up steady, but the only stocks that are holding us up are big tech, mostly NVIDIA and Tesla. Google, somewhat as well. Those, I think, are done. Those, I think, are ending today. I think we see our reversal tomorrow. And then going into, again, we do these cycles through the individual membership. And I think the June territory is where the market bottoms. Now bottoming meaning a higher low, or just the beginning of a testing the lows, getting a bounce, and going lower. All right, so a lot of this is going to look the same no matter if you're bullish or bearish, unless the pullbacks are very, very shallow. All right, and we'll look at that again a little bit later. So again, breadth is terrible. Big tech's holding us up. When they get done, the market's going down. Let's open this up. And then we have a really cool, make sure you stick around. VIX is a really cool chart that's going to give you that visual like, oh, shit, we might have a top. All right. So we have SPX on the daily time frame. By the way, we're doing this intraday about 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. If you want to get these videos intraday so you can help your decisions, consider becoming a 99-cent a month member. These are all on YouTube. I highly suggest that you go to YouTube instead of Patreon. I made them much, much lower in price on purpose. But Patreon, if you just don't care and you just want to be in the Discord and you're not worried about it and you want to help out this channel, thank you very much. So we have, in a visual stance, we have SPX. On the daily, we have the downtrend line. You see we clearly broke out, back tested, and never looked back. Okay, so this is a breakout zone. What if we go to test that breakout again? What if that's a deep and very deep pullback, but that wouldn't be unusual for a wave 2. Okay, it doesn't have to go that low. And again, I'll show you the retracements a little bit later. But you see we have there's a consolidation zone in the past. That's where this came from here, consolidation. So you'll see a couple kind of double lines. This is a really good double line spot here where I think there's a good support, and then support in between. And here's another really good one. So if we break down from this wedge, it's likely we'll break down from this support as well. And we could see maybe 5,400 all the way down to 5,200. And then we'll look for a low. Where does that come into? Well, we do have pricing here in timing around June. So maybe we get a 3-wave move. Maybe it's steep. And, however this is going to look, could be a zigzag. If this is a wave 2, look for a nice sharp zigzag. Maybe a straight move down here to 5,400, a nice bounce, and then another move down to 5,200. Perhaps we get a zigzag. Okay. Moving averages. Now, if this really, really wants to be that kind of blow off top, maybe we just come down to this consolidation zone, the 50 moving average, the 20, that holds price up, very shallow. That would be extremely, extremely bullish if we made new highs from that point. All right. Some would say that, well, maybe that's a wave 4 into wave 5. I don't think that's the case. I think that, and I'll show you on the 65-minute what this count looks like. A McClellan oscillator, just favorite, one of the favorite charts. We have our highs and breadth is getting weaker and weaker. Price is going up. Breadth is getting weaker. That's because the big tech stocks are the only thing that's holding things up. All right. We're going to get NVIDIA's earnings, I believe, next week. So, that could be a situation where maybe their earnings are good, but it just gives us a dip, and it helps the dip, and it sets us up for people get bearish because it pulls the market down, but it's actually setting up for a nice big move to the upside. So let's leave that option open. No pun intended. All right. Extremely overbought. Okay. Doesn't have to get negative divergence, especially if this is a wave 1. You just get your overbought and you want to reset, maybe to 50, maybe it does go back down to 30. Doesn't really matter. Do we get a curl over here? Maybe we get that kind of movement in a bull market. We're in the bull territory, so maybe we get a curl down to the 0 line or just under it and continue to move higher. So that's what we'll look at there. Clearly with the move that we're having today, slow stoke is moving back up and some divergence there. We'll see if that curls back over and gives us the sell-off we're looking for. And we'll look for this trend line here to break. We're sort of forming a trend on this slow stoke here. All right, so that's why we do this each and every day, so we can see what the indicators are telling us, and we'll continue to monitor those. So we have the DMARC. DMARC gave us a 9 count sell signal, and then we're at a 4 again, but you know, this could be it, and we got a little bit higher. That happens. We got the 9 here before slowing down and getting a bounce. So that continues to happen. We had the 13 count exhaustion sell signal, and that's what gave us this bottom here. Wish we would have played that a little better. And then let's look at the awesome oscillator. Very bullish at this point. Let me remove that. I don't think we're going to get bearish divergence anymore. So this could go back down to the neutral point, and maybe that's our pullback, and we continue to go higher. All right, again, this is a bullish take on things. It's all about interpretation and probability. So probability here is that we're reversing. We're looking at the money flow index. Hey, we're going higher, right? We're not overbought, but look, this can pull back, get to that 50 line, and continue the trend higher. Okay? So far, there's no trade off of this specifically. Let's go to Bollinger Band. Here is a trade. We are overbought, extreme overbought, and the top of the Bollinger Band. So the Bollinger Bands are curling up. Maybe we pull back. You have your 20 moving average here, and if things get really nasty, we have the bottom of the Bollinger Band, which is testing the lows, quote unquote. And that's where your deep retracements will be. And I'll show you where those are. And the Elliott oscillator, nothing to see here, right? It's just positive. So maybe this comes back and then we go higher. Okay, moving on to well, let's just do timing real quick. So we got a top in this cluster here. I said I would move all these and I didn't. Sorry about that. So I'm going to remove these and then look at that next cluster that's coming up here. That we're in it. All right. So we're looking for a top again, and we got it. All right. There's no confirmation. Clearly, we're looking for a top. That's the cluster we're in. It's a beautiful cluster. So I think it's highly probable the top is in. Now, our next cluster is coming up here towards the end of May. All right. Do we get some lows in the end of May? Here's June. Maybe we get a bounce here. Boom, boom. We'll look to these two clusters right here. End of May. And then getting towards, it's still the beginning of June. So let's see what those do. I think we're going to be at lower prices at that point. And if we pull up our expanding ending diagonal, this is the bullish trade. So we have an ABC. All the waves are going to be made of 3 waves. And it's very typical for those waves to be zigzags. Here's an ABC for an A, B, C for wave 1, ABC for 2. And then you have an A, B, C for a wave 3, very long wave 3. Okay, that's fantastic. Now we could have counted this as 3 right here, and then you get the top, boom. But this is the bullish scenario where we get our A, B, C for wave 3. We have a sharp move. Notice that wave 3 is longer than wave 1. And wave 4, ABC for 4, is larger than wave 2. Now, blow off tops have a wave 5 that can even exceed this wave 3. All right. So that's what we're going to show you in the near term. Let me show you this in the near term, then I'll move it to the weekly so we can see some of those targets up top. So we're getting a reversal now at the 786. Okay, I'm confident in that. So I think this is going to be an A wave. And since these are made of 3 waves a piece, I think we get our A, B, and blow off top for a C. Okay, or this could be a smaller degree ABC. So there's different ways this can happen, but mainly just to give you a perspective, see how deep this ABC just to equal A? All right. That could be the case. And then that's a larger degree A into B. Or look at how shallow, since this move is just massive. Look at this shallow pullback in the beginning of wave 3 here. So we came back to the 23.6% retracement on that move. That's insane. Now this one to the 382, just really shallow move. So this doesn't have to go that deep, but if it does, again, that's a great setup. It'll draw in a lot of bears and we'll rocket off to the races. Now, I would love to see this gap close. We have two main gaps here, and if we can close those gaps, again, that's going to protect from a bearish scenario. But either way, I think we'll get a bounce, or should it continue higher, or does it fail? That's going to be the big question. So in the bullish scenario, we could easily retrace to any one of these retracements. And I don't even have the 23% retracement in here. It's probably right in this cluster here. So, you know, it can be a shallow sideways pullback for a little bit and continue higher. All right. Or it could be a nice big pullback. And if we get the big one early, I doubt anything's going to be deep at all after that. The rest should be really, really shallow. But again, I could, if this is going to be such a large move that's even bigger than this one, then I could easily count this as a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 wave move, and then you get a B wave and higher. All right, we're going to have to let this play out, but just to keep this simple, we want to see an A, B, and then C higher. Now, what does that look like for target wise? Let's go to the weekly. Now, our first target up above would be, so you would take your retracement tool and you go from high to low on wave 3 to 4, and you get your 786, you get 88, you get your 50%, all that in between, right? But after that, you get your extensions. And so our first target would be 650, about 645 here for the 127. There's a few minor in between. And then your next major target is 695. Now, this extension tool, if this is A to B, if we do get a retracement all the way back to the 62%, then that equals that comes all the way up to that 695 as well. Okay, and see how that moves. If it's a steeper retracement, that next target moves with it. All right, and even steeper is at 200%. All right, this wave 3 move made it up to the 200% from the 2022 correction. Okay, so we can even add on some of those after that. We can add on the 2.618 onto this one as well to even add onto our moves. And that and see, that takes us right into, look at that. It's just the symmetry on that. That takes us in, so we have a cluster at this 695, we'll call it. And then we have our next one all the way up top here at the 200%. Now, depending on how much time this takes, we have our trend line that's ascending. So if it takes more time, all the way out here into January 2026, I guess part of the Santa Claus rally as well, right? Then it could be all the way up here at that 200% at 640 or 745. All right, so that's our bullish outtake. So we can't break the lows. We're not looking to break the lows if the bulls and Tesla will give us a clue of that when the time comes. All right, so that could be a target of as much as 750. Big move. All right, starting to pull back a little bit more. Let's go to the 65. And what's important about this is I'll do the scenarios, and here's our zigzag. Here's where we get our wave 2 in. It's done, and we see new lows. Okay, this is an A, B, And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and this is done. Okay. In the case where, notice how the counts can change. This is all speculation, right? And so our ending diagonal or leading diagonal, I'm saying ending because of our last blow off top. If this is a wave 1 here, A, remember this can be an A. Yeah, we better change this. I don't want to confuse people. So again, we're looking for the A into B. And if this is a 1, 2, and we get a 5-wave move up, and we know where the targets are, so we can form our count around it. You know, if we didn't hit the targets yet, but we have this ABC, maybe that was a 5-wave move to get A into B. Okay, don't want to get too confusing. We'll change that as we go. All right. So now I'm looking at this being a 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5-wave move to complete A, and then going into B into maybe early June, we get some sort of 3-wave move. And then after that, we'll see what kind of retracement we get. So this retracement, I'll have to make sure that that's at the highs, just so we can adjust it. I know the lows are correct. The high was right here, 589.07. And so what we're looking for is a typical pullback, and we have a nice area here. And remember, you know, that's a great point here. I'm glad this popped up. So where's this 382 from? Let me put it on the daily. This 382 is from the bottom of this wave right here. All right, and we can even adjust that too for wave 1 into 2. So the whole point is wave 4 came back. This ending diagonal, expanding diagonal. So it came back to the 50%. And again, we can adjust that to the bottom of wave 1. It just depends where your wave 1 is, and mine is right here. So we came back to the 50%, and we should not get back below it. So this should not break, and you have good support there anyway. All right, so even if price got really, really deep for a pullback, we should not blow through this area, which is that 50%, which says this is the end of wave 4. All right. So wave 4 shouldn't be exceeded, and that would be testing the bottom. That's a steep retracement from where we are, but hey, things have been crazy with these moves. Extreme lows, extreme highs. Let's see another extreme low. And then that would be your B wave, wherever it is. And then price can continue after that much, much higher where those targets are. So that's the look for an ABC going higher. And this is just a look, like I said, ABC done, and we break new lows. So let's go over to just our standard look here. And then I want to look at the VIX on the daily time frame. And that's all we'll do today. So looking at the standard look, this would be our pullback to test the breakout. That's at 532. Where's that in relevance to our... So 535 is the 382, 522. So 532 is right at our 50% retracement, just underneath. You can, it's a zone. So this would be our 50% retracement. So if price got back here, it looks good just to back test, right? And depending on how long it takes for this to play out, it can go a little bit deeper and still just be a back test. So you have three, 4 gaps. How many will get filled? Let's find out. But this one, just ideally, you know, if this is, here's the end of May 30th. Here's the beginning of June. So if we're coming back to June, we could even close this gap all the way right here. Look at that. Let's pull that out. And that would still just be a back test. And that would bring us down to the 513, 512. That would be testing the lows that we were talking about. This is the spot where we should not break. I'll make this one a little bit thicker. Actually, you know what I'll do is, no, let me just leave that. So we should not breach this one. I'll just make this thick. Should not breach. Boom. Can't miss that. All right. So breaking down below here, it's likely that we go to new lows. And this is still just a back test. All right. So we have our moving averages. We're still testing that 8 right now, having problems with getting below it. Here's our, we're starting to get a curl here. We're getting a red histogram just now. Right, this is, I think it broke to a new high here, so we can't consider that negative divergence. That actually makes for a positive argument. Okay, we made a new high. There's no negative divergence. And this could easily oscillate to the 0, even come back down a little bit and go higher. All right, so we're starting to cool off. Slow Stoke is heading down. So I think we're going to start correcting here really soon, and we should get oversold and such. Like this week, we shouldn't exceed this options expected move. You never know what's going to happen, but it's options expiration, so be careful. This could be violent. It could do nothing just to get us a weekly reversal candle, and then we start heading lower. Our DMARC, we got our 9 sell signal, and we're starting to reverse off of that. Money flow was well into the overbought territory there, so no surprise that we're pulling back at this point. Bollinger Band, just extreme, same sell signal, right at the same spot. And Elliott oscillator. So this one gave us a new high from this correction. So we'll see how that goes. We could get back into the red and then again go higher. We can make it much higher than this. All right, I think that's it for SPY. And by the way, the Qs, I don't know if I mentioned the triple Qs, they already have a sign of a weekly bullish crossover on the MACD. If that does, we got to see how the week closes, but if that closes with a green histogram, a crossover, we'll see on the weekend analysis, okay? But that's going to be, that could tell us, give us a big clue on what's happening. All right, now this one was super important for our top in the market. So 19, we talked about how important 19 is. You could see that 19 was support, and of course price goes through, right? This is the VIX. It's very, the VIX is volatile, right? But look how it holds price, even though it got over, it holds price. And so I made this zone. Look how price comes into it, and then whoa, and sets up a base. This is a base, and you can see it's outlined by the turquoise. Every single bounce came off of that turquoise line, right? With little exception. And then we formed a base right off the bottom. Beautiful, beautiful sort of saucer cup there. And now we're making higher lows. And you see each consolidation makes it to this line. All right, one right here. And then here's another consolidation that just bursted off of this line. All right, and if things continue to be the same, although this was a little bit more shallow, this was the beginning of the move, right? So this is right at that trend line again. So now that we're in the sort of up portion of this, we can see we have a nice trend going here. So that's where we made our bounce going from yesterday into today. That's another reason why I think the top is in. As soon as we start to break out from this wedge, I think we get that big move. So this also will be telling. Does the VIX make a new high? Or is this now more of a downtrend? Okay. And maybe this is a cap. Do we come back up to test just a lower high? Do we stay in this range for a while? That's what we're going to look at. I'm assuming if we get that blow off top, first we'll correct. Maybe this goes crazy, but price doesn't make a new low. And then finally it just rips to the downside like this one. Okay, so we'll be watching to see what happens when we break out of here. Do we make a new high? Is SPY at a new low? Or is it really just peak when we're at the 50, 60% retracement? And then we see it whip back. That's when you know that this thing is probably going to rip down to the downside. All right. And then after this trend line will probably break. If we see extreme bullish momentum, then we're going to see the next move get sold. And this trend line's probably not going to hold anymore. We're probably going to see a move all the way back down to that extreme complacency around 12. All right, before we even consider the new bear market. So therefore, if this scenario plays out, this is no longer bear market 2025. All right, in that case, it's probably going to be bear market 2026. So we'll continue to monitor this. One tell sign that we'll be looking for is after we break down, and we're not going to wait for this, but a new high after that. This high, if it's broken again, you know, depending on where this pulls back, even if it's shallow, we break that new high, we got to roll with it. Got to roll with it. Well, one big question is going to be, hey, what about the historic trend lines that you talk about often? What about these historic trend lines? Well, for sure, if we break new highs, we're going to these. But if we get this blow off top, we're going to have to break through that. All right. So we'll likely put on some put protection up here. We get above here, then we know where the targets are. So we'll play that out. If we break to new lows, especially, look at this, that 5,000 just about. Start to break that, and we have something else happening. All right, and I think that our bear market continues. All right, a lot to look at, but I hope that helps. We're looking for the pullback that's imminent. I think our top is in, but we'll see what happens after that. So make some money on the way down, but be nimble after we see either a 5-wave move or a 3-wave move. All right, thanks for joining us here at OptionsTender. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you tomorrow.